Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger and my friends. Today we're here with some more Street Fighter 6 info and tidbits thanks to and courtesy of Game Informer. So they did a Q&A interview with the director of Street Fighter 6 Takayuki Nakayama and the producer Shuhei Matsumoto. And the gimmick, as it were, of the interview was they were asking well over 100 different questions. Most of them kind of, short and silly, but some of them, there's some meat to them. So specifically in this video, we're going to be covering some of the more interesting questions that were asked. If you would like to see the full video, I'll have it linked for you in the video description. But that said, let's get to some of the more interesting answers that were given. One of the questions that was asked is, what exactly makes Street Fighter 6 better than Street Fighter 5? What does it have over Street Fighter 5? And answer given is there's a lot more modes to play with, which is definitely true, and good online connection. So sort of throwing Street Fighter 5's netcode under the bus. But you know what? Honestly, fair enough, I guess. No point defending it this late in the game, especially when Street Fighter 6 is so good online. If you never saw my old beta review, I've played from Canada to Japan, and it was basically flawless. The netcode is the real deal. When asked about fight money, no, Street Fighter 6 will not have anything approaching fight money like Street Fighter 5. So when it comes to DLC, stages, all that, looks like you're going to have to buy everything straight up. Now, following directly from that, they were asked, will there be any in-game ads? Like Street Fighter 5, you've seen ads for the Capcom Pro Tour, all that kind of stuff. They're being a little sly about that specifically, and even giving a little bit of a smile at the end. So I'm going to take that as a yes. On the subject of the classic retro games that you can play in Street Fighter 6, they did state definitively that yes, there will be more classic games than just the ones that were found in the beta. So we had 3 in the beta and there will be more in the future. Now, exactly how many more? Not stated, but definitely more to come. Hopefully, ideally, besides the original Final Fight, we can get maybe like Final Fight 2 and 3. That'd be pretty cool. Or really just anything interesting from the Capcom back catalog of arcade games would be pretty cool. This is something I would love to see them really just get expansive with. It's a good way to drum up interest in older titles to an audience that, for the most part probably wouldn't have heard of them and wouldn't be interested in buying one of the collections. So I would love to see this heavily expanded. Now, the next question that wound up being asked is actually fairly significant to the lore of one Mr. Ken Masters. Because yes, as many have speculated over the years, Ken does indeed dye his hair. So the blonde hair with the big black eyebrows, well there you go. Officially, Ken dyes his hair. Now outside of the context of the interview, they actually did try to show this, but then they backed out. They chickened out at the last second. So what you're looking at here is from the original leak from Street Fighter 6. So we all know that Ken is on the run, he's disheveled, all that kind of stuff. And apparently the original plan was to show it by the fact that his roots are showing, right? He hasn't dyed his hair recently. Unfortunately, in the build of the game that we know about, they reversed this decision because he has a full blonde hair now. The roots are not showing, but still, let it be known, Ken dyes his hair. Next were a bunch of questions about character age, and they're being a little coy with it, saying, Dalsum gets more elastic with age, Blanca gets more electric with age. But one of the things they were just putting out there is, yes, a lot of the crew has fixed birthdays. Like, yes, Ryu famously was born in 1964, back when Street Fighter 2 first came out. But that doesn't mean he's almost 60 right now. Basically, the original fixed birthdays, don't consider them canon in any way, shape, or form. The characters are getting older as the series progresses, yes. But there's no one set point in time the series is set in place. The Street Fighter timeline, as it were, is effectively timeless. Directly stating that the character's age will be different than whatever their birthday says from Street Fighter 2. These characters are worth a lot of money, and you can't afford to have them age out of the games. In a short and sweet question, basically the developers are a big fan of all the Hoboken memes. Also about Street Fighter 2010, The Final Fight, whose protagonist is Ken Masters. They say, is that the same Ken? And maybe in the future. Another thing that was brought up is about crossovers, because fighting games love their crossovers. One, their favorite crossover game is CVS2, Capcom vs. SNK 2. And if at all possible, they would love to work with DC Comics specifically. Although crossovers are hard, so who knows if that would ever happen, right? But still, we did Marvel vs. Capcom, so maybe DC vs. Capcom down the road. And of course, the inevitable Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat question. It's been brought up so many times over the decades, right? And the issue always is, can't have the killing. Everything else on paper works out fantastically, but you simply cannot have the Street Fighter and Capcom characters killed in fatalities. That's the hard line, and it's always been that. If it ever happens one day, it cannot have fatalities at all. Now, onto story in Street Fighter 6. So further confirmation that World Tour is the main story mode, and yes, even though it won't be as expansive, you will be getting story tidbits in arcade mode as well. Also, on a DLC note, not that it's a particular shocker, but yes, expect DLC characters and stages, and also they will be looking into doing potentially DLC commentators, like the guest commentator feature, and DLC modes, although that's not necessarily a given just yet. On a character note, they did mention they would love to bring back every returning character from every game, but it's just not feasible because of cost and scheduling. It'd be too expensive to have every character. That said, one character they would like to have in the future, potentially, is Cody, because a big part of the game is Metro City thanks to the World Tour mode, and well, Cody's kind of linked to Metro City to say the least. Honestly, it's a bit surprising we don't have too much Metro City reps, but I guess Kimberly is the Metro City rep in Street Fighter 6 specifically. And that's about it. Once again, if you want to see the original interview, I'll link that in the video description. Well over 100 questions, and most of them are kind of fluff, to be honest with you. Just asking about silly things, and well, you know, I picked out what was more interesting to me and hopefully interesting to you. So that's some Street Fighter news and tidbits for you, and I know we all want like an open beta announcement or a new character trailer at least. Who knows, maybe the Game Awards. I made a video about that, you can check that out if you want. And maybe somewhere before the Game Awards, that'd be nice, I guess, but I guess we just don't know. Just going to editorialize here for a second, but man, I just want something really meaty to dig into right now. It's been now over a month since the closed beta test for Street Fighter 6 has finished up here, and I just want more info on the game. The little tidbits are nice. This interview, fantastic. Glad to know just what little things we did learn here, but I'm really ready to bite into something big, you know? I would really love to see how a lot of the characters we know about, but haven't seen gameplay-wise yet, how they just work out. And you can just pick the quote-unquote boring choices. Give us Cammy or Zangief, but give us something. Come on. We're hungry and it's time to eat. But for now, I guess all we can really do is just kind of sit and wait, and hopefully Papa Capcom is generous and will give us what we need. That in mind, though, my friends, we're at the end of the video now, so thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and when the time comes, go out and play some Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.